All right, I think it's a good time to start. All right, so I'm going to start from the top again. Ready, everybody? So this is going to be a great one. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Maria, and I'm the community manager for the CMO Connect. I'm really glad that you're all here today. Before we begin, drop a quick note in the chat and tell us where you're joining from, city and state or country. Today, we're kicking off a new webinar series focused on something that will shape business opportunities across North America over the next few years, the 2026 FIFA World Cup. We're going to be talking about FIFA. We're going to be talking about FIFA World Cup 2026 strategies. Sorry about that. We're going to be talking about FIFA World Cup 2026 strategies, how businesses can start preparing for FIFA World Cup 2026, and what it means to build a real World Cup activation strategy ahead of the massive demand surge expected during the FIFA World Cup. The FIFA World Cup is the largest global sporting event in the world, and the 2026 FIFA World Cup will be the first time the tournament is hosted across the United States, Canada, and Mexico at this scale. That means millions of international visitors, global media exposure, and a major influx of economic activity into host cities and surrounding markets. For businesses that prepare early, the FIFA World Cup 2026 represents an opportunity to capture attention, customers, and partnerships that might otherwise go to competitors who planned ahead. And that's really why we created this webinar series, to help businesses start thinking about how to prepare for the FIFA World Cup 2026 now, instead of waiting until the moment has already arrived. While people are still joining, let's learn a little bit about who's here with us today. All right, drop in the chat where you're joining from, city and state or country. All right, I'm already starting to see some locations coming in. Keep them coming in. All right, so the next question that I have for you is, what type of business are you in? Or what role do you play in your organization? Founder, marketer, operator, agency leader? We'd love to know. And one more quick question. What do you want most from us today? What type? You can type one word in the chat: strategy, clarity, or a real plan. Strategy, if you want to understand the bigger picture around the FIFA World Cup 2026 opportunity. Clarity, if you're still figuring out how your business fits in the moment. Or a plan, if you're already thinking about how to activate around the World Cup demand surge. Just a quick bit of housekeeping before we dive in. We'll be monitoring the chat throughout the session, so if you have any questions at any point, feel free to drop them in there. If your question is specific, it helps if you include your business type and the city you operate in, so we can make the conversation more relevant. Toward the end of the session, we'll also share next steps for those of you who want to go deeper and start building a structured plan for capturing demand around the FIFA World Cup 2026. Now, before we jump into the strategy, I want to introduce the person leading today's session. All right, everyone, we're in great hands today. I'm excited to introduce Jamie Washington, founder of Washtone Media and a trusted executive brand and CMO advisor. Jamie helps leaders and businesses turn big moments into measurable growth through executive positioning, marketing strategy, and what Jamie calls demand surge activation. Jamie brings enterprise-level brand experience, having built brands for and worked with organizations including RCA Records, United Airlines, Bloomingdale's, Dunkin', Apple, and Home Depot. Jamie has also collaborated with high-profile names including Oprah Winfrey and Warren Buffett, and has a background in entertainment marketing that includes work with Reba McEntire and Justin Timberlake. Today, Jamie is guiding us through the FIFA World Cup 2026 strategy for businesses, including how to prepare for the FIFA World Cup 2026, what a strong host city activation plan looks like, and how to translate global attention into real revenue. Jamie, we're glad to have you here. I'm passing it over to you to lead us. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks so much, Maria. Thank you for that wonderful intro. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well. I am Jamie Washington, and it seems like we have a lot of people here. Welcome. We've got Boston, Massachusetts. We've got Inglewood, California, Atlanta, Georgia. We also have several people over on LinkedIn. Maria, I was trying to, for whatever reason, the integration to the Zoom is not allowing me to go live on LinkedIn. Do you mind just popping in? We've got about 50 or 60 people that started sending me messages. So can you just make sure that they have the Zoom link and they can join us over here? If you could just go over there to the page for me, that would be fantastic. Okay, everyone. So I decided that it would be great to have this series versus having it at Washington Media's headquarters in Needham, Massachusetts. I wanted to have it here in Foxborough because here is where the epicenter for Boston is going to happen. And I actually reside in Foxborough. And what's going to happen in June is something that I don't think we are ready for. I don't think we're prepared. I've worked on activations in Paris, New York. I've worked with the Olympics, worked on a few things here in Boston. And when you have this influx of a global event, it is something different than a normal event. And I have some slides and I want to, if you have questions as well, I'm going to take the questions at the end, but please feel free to put your questions inside of the chat and then I'll go back to them towards the end to make sure that I answer everyone's questions. Okay. I promise no fluff because I don't believe in fluff. So we're going to get right to it with the slides and share with what we have to offer. Okay, so in 1 second. I downloaded the slides. I think it's just better that way. Okay. And then we'll also just make sure that everybody can see the slides as well. Okay. Spotlight. Okay, you should be able to see. Here we go. Okay. I want to make sure everyone can see the slide. Just want to do a check. If you can write inside of the chat that you are able to see the slide, the Stadium Corridor Readiness Briefing. Make sure everyone can see. Perfect. 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 And I'm just going to blow it. Oh, nope, not that big. Okay, great. All right. You will hear throughout this presentation, I'll talk about the Stadium Corridor Readiness Briefing. I also work on activations for the Super Bowl, and it's something that we call the corridor going to the stadium. And with that, that's the same thing that we are going to be preparing for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. How businesses and organizations can prepare for the global demand, and it's a surge, just like the Super Bowl that we just had. You know, you have thousands of people that are coming, right into one area. And this right here is what we call a working brief, and it's going to give you a practical guide for stadium area businesses, but also like if you have a business that's not necessarily in the corridor, but you also could have a business that is going to be around one of the hotels, one of the fan festival sites. And as long as you know where that corridor is from once someone enters your city, your state, your country, that is considered the corridor. And you want to make sure that you are ready and prepared for that. What are we going to cover today? Five things that I want to talk about. This, like I said, it's not a theory. This is a working briefing. Every topic connects directly to decisions that your organization, that you will need, your business will need to make before July 2026. Some people, depending on your business, you need to make it like yesterday, but that's okay. I'm here to help you. But some may need to make it before July. You may need to make this decision in May. You may need to make it in June, but definitely before the World Cup enters the US. Why is this moment so historic? Understanding that the true scale of the FIFA World Cup 2026 and what it means for US host cities. Also, how host cities and corridors transform under the pressure of international demand. Also, the three phases that drive revenue and the operational windows that most businesses actually miss whenever there is what we call in the marketing industry a demand surge. It's a difference between a restaurant opening and having access to the surge versus 3,000 sub orders coming in for lunchtime. That's what I mean when I say demand surge. It is a difference. And if the restaurant, if the business, if the organization is not prepared for the demand surge, you do not fail because of traffic. You fail because your infrastructure is not ready. Also, number four is like that operational pressure. The five areas where preparation makes the biggest difference between success and chaos. Yet again, going back to that example that I just gave. How to prepare now. We want to talk about some frameworks and resources that your organization, your business. I know we have several presidents from Chamber of Commerce's. We have several individuals from BNI organizations, Rotary clubs, also City of Boston, City of Atlanta, City of Houston, Texas. We appreciate all of you and others, organization, business owners, founders. We appreciate you taking the time to get this information. And we want to also make sure that you have concrete frameworks and resources that you can push out to your organizations. Why does this event matter? So, FIFA World Cup is the single largest sporting event on the planet. It's bigger than the Olympics. It's bigger than the Super Bowl. It is a global viewership and economic impact. This is coming from FIFA. They are anticipating 5 billion plus viewers to tune in across every continent during the tournament. 1.5 million international travelers are expected um, to visit the United States for the 2026 tournament alone. We have 104 matches that are going to be played in 16 host cities in the US, Canada, and Mexico. For host cities, this is not just a sporting event. We love our sports. I'm here in Boston. We love our sports. We have the Patriots. We have the Red Sox. We have the Celtics. We have the Bruins. We have the Revolutions. We love sports in Boston. But this is bigger than that. This is a moment of unprecedented global media coverage and international attention. And for the US, something else makes this moment especially significant, and that is 1994. That is the last time we were the host of the FIFA World Cup. That's more than 30 years ago. An entire generation of business owners, operators, and city managers have never experienced this event on home soil. The last time the World Cup came to the United States, actually, what I'm using right now, Zoom, it didn't even exist the last time that the World Cup came to the United States. The internet was at its infancy. Mobile payments like Stripe didn't exist. Social media, where I've posted this on LinkedIn, didn't even exist. It wasn't a concept. Meta wasn't a concept. It's amazing how the world has changed. So the global fan base has grown dramatically since then. What global events actually create? And this is really important for you all to really understand. Those that are operators, those that are have a portfolio of businesses that you serve. Most operators start preparing for the wrong problem. And I'll say that again. Most operators start preparing for the wrong problem. They assume that a global event is simply more traffic, more customers, more foot traffic, more sales. But that framing leads to under preparation. So the common assumption is that global events create that traffic and it's gradual. It's like a gradual increase that businesses can adapt to in real time. That is not the case. It is compression. It is a massive number of people moving through the same corridors at the same time with a very short window. Going back to the analogy that I just shared, can you imagine those that are in Atlanta, those that are here in Boston, those that are in Seattle? Can you imagine that local sub shop or that local pizza shop that is on the corridor of your beautiful stadium? When it's time for lunch, can you imagine them going to DoorDash and placing an order for a pizza times 3,000? What infrastructure does that local pizza shop, does that local sub shop have? Are they equipped to have do they have the capacity to take 3,000 orders that need to be filled in less than 36 minutes? Because when it's ordered, the customer needs to get their food so that they can go to the next game. That's what I mean by compression. It is a massive number of people moving through at the same time under the same short window. And compression is a core operational challenge. Being a global chief marketing officer, that is what I do. I come into businesses when they have what we call activations because it's a short amount of time, a lot of people. And we plan for that traffic so that there's not an overwhelm. There are tools, there are strategies that you can offer to your businesses. If you are a direct operator, there are strategies that you can do right now in your business to make sure that you are able to capture this extraordinary opportunity and the traffic is not the failure, that you're able to succeed because you are prepared. What does compression really look like? Okay, I've got this nice little picture over here on the right hand side. Thanks to AI, beautiful picture. AI is a big component now in our world. 30 years ago, it was not. But if you can just imagine you're a beautiful city, and if you can imagine all of these people by the thousands walking from the stadium down the corridor, what happens? It is intense. I said no fluff, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is intense. It is unforgiving. And I'll say it again. It is intense and it is unforgiving. It is immediate. The demand is not spread across a normal business day. They all arrive in a concentrated wave. Restaurants fill instantly. Wait times that normally span minutes, they stretch to hours. Menus are strained under volume. Staff hits capacity. The transit systems surge. Right here in Boston, down the street, like I said, I reside in Foxborough. I know for sure that we are with our transit system just to get to Foxborough. There has been an investment of $35 million dollars just on the transit system because of the surge. And that is because the platforms, the buses, the ride share zones, they become bottlenecks. And so Boston is already working to help with the movement throughout the city because it will slow down dramatically. Retail demand spike, merchandise, food, beverages, fan gear. It sells rapidly. It sells in bursts. So restocking during events is nearly impossible. There is no waiting. There's no, do you have this shirt? Yes, I can send it to you. Or yes, it's coming tomorrow. I'm trying to order. No, that doesn't work. Retail demand, excuse me, spikes. Hospitality hits limits. Hotels, lounges, event spaces, Airbnbs, the spaces are filled and the demand is simultaneous. And so if the hospitality industry does not prepare operationally, they will not be able to absorb that type of capacity. And that's what compression looks like. Now, there is still opportunity. If your business or organization operates near a host stadium, you are positioned inside one of the most commercially valuable zones of the entire tournament. These corridors don't just see increase of foot traffic, they become the fan ecosystem that international visitors navigate for hours before and after the match. Now, that's restaurants and bars, that's retail and merchandise, that's transit hubs, that's gathering spaces. I'll share a little bit about what's happening here in Boston, which is a little different. In Boston, it's they like to say that FIFA is coming to Boston, which it is. But our stadium is in Foxborough, Massachusetts, which is in the suburbs. From Boston to Foxborough, it is about a 45-minute drive on a good day. So Boston is a little different because also our mayor, as of last week, announced that the fan festival area is actually going to be in Boston by City Hall. I let me just pause and kind of share a little bit about like what that means. So the fan site, the fan festival, every host city should have a fan site, a fan festival. It's usually by the stadium. That's where the traffic of those that may or may not have tickets for every game, they still want to be around the culture. So they are around the corridor, but they may not go into the game. Okay. But that's the opportunity for your small business owners. That is the opportunity for them to be able to offer their products, their services in that area. Little different for Boston. We'll see. You know, the mayor just announced that the fan festival area is going to be 45 minutes away from the stadium. I do know that the Gillette Stadium is also going to have its own corridor festival. So Boston's a little different. We're going to have two, what I'm calling epicenters ecosystems. If you know exactly where your fan festival is going to be hosted, I would make sure that the small businesses know exactly where that location is and make sure that they have their retail space in that area because you're going to have a surge and that's the place, that fan ecosystem, that is the place that the international visitors are going to navigate, and that's where the money is going to be spent. And that is how the small businesses are going to be able to, I think they said here in Boston, they're expecting about $1 billion in revenue during the 39 days going back and forth that the games will be played here in Boston. So those are the things you want to prepare, okay? Who needs to prepare? Jamie, who needs to be preparing? I say everybody. The preparation for a global event is not the responsibility of a single business or a sector. It is a coordinated local ecosystem that aligns its efforts well in advance. And the organizations below all have meaningful roles to play. It's the business community, absolutely. That's our restaurants, hospitality venues, retail operators, financial institutions in the stadium corridor. That's a must. Civic networks, Chamber of Commerce, Main Street organizations, BNI chapters, business improvement districts, tourism and destination community leaders. Also, when I say the business community, you should also plan to have in your areas a doctor, a dentist, you should have a pediatrician. You should have a booth. You should have an area for them as well. You should have it. Yes, yes, the stadiums will have for emergency response. Yes, they will have that. But like I mentioned, this is a demand surge. You're going to have that 7 year old, that 9 year old that's running that may scrape their knee. It's not technically an emergency. But if you have a doctor, a pediatrician with a booth there readily available to assist, it's fulfill the need. So that's what I mean when I say business community. This is not just for retail. This is for everyone. This is a global event. Think about every need a person or a family would have, times that by 10,000, and you'll understand what you're about to experience. And as long as you're prepared for it, it's great. It really is. Now, let's talk a little bit about that visitor journey because I love to talk about a customer journey. International fans do not experience a city as a collection of separate businesses. They experience it as a continuous, connected journey. And that is every touch point that either strengthens or undermines the overall impression your city makes the world on the world. When they touch down, if it's Boston International, if they're flying private and they're coming, we have Hanscom Airfield here in Boston. But however, the customer or visitor lands in your area, they go from airport, hotel, restaurant, transit, and stadium. This is what I call the visitor journey. It's the airport, the hotel, the restaurant, transit, and stadium. And the message needs to be the same. Whatever you desire for to be known in the world, it needs to start at the airport and that needs to be through the hotels, the restaurants, transit, all the way to the stadium. It has to be a continuous message. Because if it's not, it's going to undermine the overall impression of your city. So you cannot have a welcome. As yet again, I have to use Boston because that's where I am. So we can't have a beautiful welcome to Boston and list, all the various different chamber of commerces and different places that someone can go. And then when someone arrives at a hotel, it says, "Welcome World Cup," and that's it. It's not telling them, where they can go. It's not giving them, a CTA, a call to action. Go here. If you need this, if you need that, go here. It has to be cohesive. If it's not, it's going to undermine. But if it is going to strengthen your city, your town, your state for years to come. You will be known as that place. So, the difference between being busy and prepared. During the World Cup, almost every business near a host stadium will experience higher than normal volume. But volume alone does not equal success. The distinction between a good outcome and a great outcome comes down to one word: preparation. And that's why we're doing this series, is to prepare. I want to be able to prepare as many businesses as I possibly can. And that is the word preparation. Being busy. So like in a normal, let's think, during the Thanksgiving holiday, during Christmas holiday, to me, that's busy. That's a busy time. That's reacting to demand as it arrives. There may be long lines. The staff may be overwhelmed. You may have a few missed orders. and you may have a few frustrated visitors who won't return. That's busy. But if we are prepared, that is designing operations ahead of time for the known demand pattern, and that's capturing revenue efficiently across every phase of match day. How demand moves on match days. We have the pre-match. That's like the early arrivals, hospitality events. That's people making sure they know where the fan festival sites are. That's people dining, people exploring. They're going to want to do different tours. That's when you make sure you activate the other small businesses that may not all like be in the corridor, or they may not have a booth in one of the corridor areas, but it may be like Faneuil Hall or the Long Wharf. If it's a place that's near something historical and there's a business in that area, they should be prepared for the match days and what we call pre-match days. Then you've got what I call match window. Game is live. Fans are watching in environments, the jumbotrons, they're active. That's the corridor businesses that they need to adapt to a quieter but engaged audience. That's when people will, go into the bars, go into the restaurants. They may not have tickets for that particular game, but they're there for the game 2 days from the first game. But they're there. They want to be a part of the culture. That's where they will be. Also, you have the post-match surge. That's thousands exiting simultaneously, and the demand it floods. It floods into the surrounding areas, and that is the highest intensity window of the day. Right after the game, that is post-match surge. Now there is a pre-match opportunity. And that is what I call the most underutilized window in stadium corridor strategy, with working with several businesses and brands with the Super Bowl activations. We've learned that, you don't need $1 billion budget. You don't have to be the Coca-Cola. You don't have to be Adidas. We say Adidas here in the US, but it's really pronounced Adios. You don't need to have their budget. If you use the pre-match phase, you can still be very successful because fans arrive often 2 to 4 hours before kickoff. And that is the rare opportunity to capture that dwell time in high value early revenue. It's before the peak, but that's when the fans, they're there. That's when you have social gatherings, groups of the fans they want to meet. So, that's when the restaurants, that's if there's Airbnbs, there's if you want to rent out your venue, your office space to, former colleagues, supporters, just to have social gatherings. Corporate hospitality. Brands and sponsors host pre-match events. You could have a VIP experience if you're in that corridor area. You could have client entertainment in nearby venues. If you have an office area in the corridor, you could offer a VIP experience just for, your clients because you're nearby the venue. There's so many ways to monetize the FIFA World Cup. It's 2026. It's just so many ways. You just have to have that strategy and be prepared. Also, neighborhood exploration. My Chamber of Commerce's, I would say activate this now. You're going to have international visitors that are going to use the pre-match time to discover your local restaurants, your retail. They want to, have a tour for cultural experiences. That's something you can work on right now, that neighborhood exploration. Have the offerings ready during the match when the game is live. Foot traffic patterns shift, but revenue opportunities do not disappear. The key insight for operators is that the match window rewards international environment, like that design over passive waiting. So they're already taken care of. But businesses that create the dedicated fan viewing environments with the screens, a curated menu, a match day atmosphere, having what we call world building, making someone feel like they're entering into your world. When you're able to maintain that, you will have a higher engagement throughout the entire game duration. Word of mouth is still one of the best. It is still one of the best when it comes to marketing, branding, and advertising. So if you build that match day atmosphere, believe me, they experienced it one day. They're going to go tell their friends. They're going to tell people there all about what you're there to offer. So turn that match day window into sustained revenue rather than just having it more of like lull. And what I mean by that is 3 hours before the game is live, prepare. Prepare to have an event. Prepare your menu because that is the underutilized opportunity where revenue is there. They are ready to spend, but they don't know where to spend. And you should be the place. Okay. Post match surge. Whew, I've seen it. The final whistle triggers the most operational, demanding moment of the entire match day. You have tens of thousands of fans that are exiting simultaneously, and the pressure flows immediately into the surrounding stadium corridor. If you are writing things down right now, please make sure that you write down post match surge. Like just write that down just to make sure that you know who you need to prepare. Okay. The post match surge. That final whistle triggers the most operational demanding moment. What happens? There's thousands of fans that they leave the stadium at the same time. The demand for food, the lines spiral out of control. Operations absorb the surge efficiently once they are prepared. All right, so the revenue is captured at the maximum volume. Fans leave with a positive experience they share globally as long as you're prepared. And you just need to be prepared. There's 5 operational stress points. Staffing coordination, that is one. So you need to make sure you work on staffing coordination, inventory planning, queuing up management, service speed, and crowd flow. Those are the 5 things that you need to make sure that you prepare businesses for so that they don't lose the most revenue. And where prepared ones will gain is that they're going to get the competitive advantage. They're going to be known as that restaurant that can feed quick, fast, and in a hurry. They give great customer service. They're going to be known, and that word of mouth is going to travel by the thousands. As long as they're prepared, that is the competitive advantage. Now, structuring revenue for match days. The most successful corridor operators, they don't think about match days as a single revenue event. They structure their entire commercial approach around 3 distinct revenue windows, each with its own customer profile, demand pattern, and service design requirement. And that the 3 is pre-match experiences. That's your early dining packages, your hospitality events, the corporate activations that I've kind of already gone over. That's just kind of capturing what I mentioned to you, that dwell time. Then you have what we call the match viewing environment. If you remember, I mentioned here in Boston, we actually have 2 match viewing environments. We have the match viewing environment that's going to be at the fan festival, which as of now, it's supposed to be at City Hall. Then we also have our corridor the revenue, which is where the fans will experience on our corridor next to our stadium at Gillette. And that is where you keep the customers engaged. You have fan experiences. We have several activations. That's where you'll see Coca-Cola. You'll see all of the various different sponsors. That's where they will be set up. And that's where you'll see that revenue is spent all day, every day. The third revenue for match days is what we call post match celebrations, and it comes in high volumes. You have the winners and you have the losers. Both are going to want a post match celebration. You have a high volume of surge windows with If you have a streamlined operation, you will be successful. You will be able to absorb the maximum demand in a minimum amount of time. So that's how you are able to structure the match days. Don't think of it as a single event. It should be a continuous idea for the day. You have pre-match experience, matching viewing environments, and then you have your post-match celebration. So those are your surge moments through the day that the game is going on. Who am I? I've been just in case you don't know. If you don't follow me on LinkedIn, you've never seen me speak, or you've never heard me, or I've never been able to work with you on activations or work with your brand. I am a global chief marketing officer, the founder of Washtone Media and the CMO Connect. Washtone Media is a marketing portfolio consulting agency, and we work with brands and organizations for brand marketing, event marketing, for activations with things similar to the FIFA World Cup 2026 and others. As I mentioned, I've worked with the Super Bowl as well with the Olympics. And the CMO Connect, which the series is being hosted, is an executive intelligence platform of chief marketing officers. And we navigate through major marketing moments. And I try to focus on high compression global events. I've worked on activations in Paris, New York, and Boston. That's enough about me. I also help organizations understand global event demand, translating the macro scale of the World Cup in specific actionable insights for your city, for your corridor or organization. I also prepare stadium corridor environments, designing the physical and operational environments to absorb the fan demand at volume without sacrificing service quality. I also have been contracted to also help with design immersive fan experiences. We call it world building, where we build activations and environments that the international visitor can remember, they can share, they can return, they can, make sure that they're posting it on TikTok, making it Instagram worthy. That's the work that I also do as well. And then also structure operational readiness. And I think that that's the most important thing because you have to be able to build staffing, inventory, logistic frameworks that will hold up under pressure when you have what we call that compression that I've been talking about throughout this webinar. It is real, it is coming. It's not if it's going to happen, it will happen. And those that are going to be successful are those that are going to be the most prepared. Now, here are a few ways that I can support, and I'm going to also be able to answer questions that we had a few people that have also sent over questions, and I'll also go into the chat and answer questions. But what are ways that I can, support? Organizations are preparing for the 2026 FIFA World Cup typically work with me in four structured ways, each designed for a different stage of readiness and at the scale that you may need. One is what we call host activation brief. It is a strategic brief that is delivered to you, and it's for communities, business networks that are preparing for a global event demand. It is similar to something I think they would call maybe like a course, but it is a brief. And if I have an opportunity, I'll share it with you so you can see what it looks like. I'll just pull it up on my screen and I'll share it with you. And it basically just gives you the different places you need to make sure that you're focusing on. And then I plan on creating a video that would walk you through it. So it's like work DIY if you wanted to, if you're an operator and you wanted to, you just need a little bit of support and you just needed something in writing to help you, that would be the host activation brief. Also, I'm offering one-on-one consulting, which is direct advisory support for the individual organizations that are building their World Cup readiness strategy. And you may need just a little support, strategic, high level support. I do offer a one-on-one consulting. Also, it's a custom activation plan. You may be a Chamber of Commerce, BNI, you may have your own brand, and you this is just too much, or you just want that customized operational and marketing plan tailored specifically to your brand, your specific corridor, your venue, and your organization type, because those things do matter. So that is a custom activation plan. And then fourth, last but certainly not least, is the CMO brief, which is our weekly newsletter. It's ongoing executive intelligence. It's a community where you're able to access, me, also leaders that will continue to talk more and more about stadium corridor readiness and how you can make sure that your brand is ready. I do feel that engagement type number one is ideal for Chamber of Commerce, Main Street organizations, the tourism boards, business networks, Rotary clubs, civic leadership groups. Engagement type two and three, the consulting one-on-one and custom activation plan. That's for organizations that are ready to move beyond awareness into the execution level. And I feel that that's for you. And then we also have the CMO brief. If any of these are of interest to you, the opportunity is in front of us all. The 2026 FIFA World Cup will deliver extraordinary global attention. I am going to just give you our email address. That's it, because it's so much involved. We want to make sure that you know exactly which engagement type will work for you and your business. I'm going to ask Maria inside of the chat to please put the email address. We'll just do the CMO Connect. Hello at the CMOconnect.com. That's where our team will be there to answer all of the emails. And you can just simple email us. Let us know more about your business, or let us know which one of these you would like for us to give you more information about. And we will send that over to you and we'll start the conversation. And that's just what we're going to do. That's the best way that we can help support you. There are going to be millions of visitors. The international fans representing every nation on earth are going to be moving through your city, your corridor, and your business. Global media presence, international broadcast coverage, and social media reach, amplifying every experience your city delivers. Corporate hospitality, the brands and sponsors that are investing in host city activations, creating partnerships and revenue opportunities for local businesses. Can you imagine what's going to happen for that local business that sells that wonderful candle, that wonderful scent, and all of a sudden they have 500 TikTok um, reels, Instagram reels, talking about this wonderful candle. All of a sudden, it's an ecosystem that's built around that business. It's life changing. And we are going to hear these stories. Believe me, we're going to hear those stories of life changing revenue happening to local businesses because of the World Cup. It is going to be a cultural celebration, a once in a generation moment to showcase your city's identity, hospitality, and community to the world. I am Jamie Washington, and I thank you so much for allowing me to impart the knowledge and experience that I have over the last 2 decades. And this was today's briefing, and it was designed to give you a clear view of what's coming and a practical framework for turning it into your organization's greatest opportunity. Remember this: preparation begins now because the world is already on its way. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if we're not connected. And let's open now for conversation. If you have questions, if you want to just come on, ask me a question, the floor is yours. No question is too early. No preparation is too soon. So I am going to stop sharing my slides and we're going to go into questions. Maria, I want to make sure I don't miss the first question. I'd love to go through the chat. Do you want to point me in the right direction? And then we'll go to those that have their hands raised.
Okay, as of right now, Jamie, I don't see any questions in the chat.
Okay.
So you can go ahead and answer the questions with the people who have their hands raised.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Okay, so we're gonna go to Jean or Jean.
It's both. I go by both. Afternoon, Jamie. Thank you so much for making time to share this expertise.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts. I mean, I guess for context, I lead a nonprofit organization in Boston, and
Mhm.
one of the initiative we have in the works in regards to the World Cup is the Pride House. So there is an international tradition whenever you have global sporting events, we there is a group in that city that put together a hospitality house for LGBTQ folks. As we already know, not all the places will be welcoming for LGBTQ people, especially in the context of the sports. So with
Yes.
that intention, we've been working diligently with the international committee to get the license to host the Pride House. So that's the initiative. I just wanted to let folks know what sort of dynamic I'm coming from. But I wonder if I could get your comments on what feels to me a lack of preparedness for Boston to be able to host these games logistically. Transportation, Boston to Foxborough is mayhem for any Taylor Swift fans if you've been there for concerts. So I already sense tension. Second, I also have heard multiple report that not everything has been set in terms of that town being able to host the games because there seems to be some issue with funding. And so what that might mean for us, restaurant businesses that are planning, if it ends up not happening, or if it ends up being a very last minute pull from the powers that be. I'll stop there.
Okay. Now, Jean, I love to pronounce people's names the way that their mother gave it to me, gave it to them. So tell me,
My,
do you
my mom would say Jean. Oh,
Jean?
yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So, first of all, thank you so very much for asking the questions that actually kind of started this series. So I will answer those questions. First of all, the lack of preparedness. I noticed because I live in Foxborough. Um, hmm, let's see, it's March. Probably in November, I noticed that I didn't see any signs. I noticed there was no FIFA World Cup, anything on the corridor. I also noticed when I would travel into Boston for meetings, I did not see anything. Um, I was invited to an event at the at Boston Celtics. I was invited to an event to kick off the World Cup. I was out of town, so I was not able to attend that particular event. But besides that, as a marketer, I have not seen what I would say is a host city being prepared. I do not believe that Boston is prepared at all. And I'm okay with saying that this is a global event. And why does that matter? It is extraordinary the opportunity that we are being offered. We knew about it. We knew because if you know anything about the World Cup, you have to go and present, you pitch why FIFA should even have the World Cup come to your city. So we knew about that. We knew why we aren't prepared. I do not know because I'm not on that direct committee. So, what can we do? That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to help the small businesses because if we wait until an email is sent out, a commercial, if you wait, it's going to be too late. I've also heard that they are preparing certain restaurants, certain businesses, certain communications. That is just what I have heard. I don't agree with that. So I am sharing the information like this so that if any business, if any operator, if any organization wants the opportunity to partake in the $1 billion that Meet Boston has stated that that's what they are saying that they believe is coming into Boston through those games. Um, I want to make sure that everyone is prepared for this opportunity. So that answers the first question. Now, your second question, remind me the second question. And first of all, did I answer, Jean, did I answer your first question
Yes,
about who I
yes,
believe?
you
Okay,
did. You
okay.
did. And the second one was connected because I heard it hasn't been finalized, that the
Yeah,
license hasn't been issued by the city, the entertainment license. So, and that is somewhat stressful, I think, for all of us who sort of depend on that,
yeah.
on those games to happen, and then for us to be able to leverage that.
Yes, and I can answer that as well. Maria, will you please do me a favor? Will you find the article that we wrote over on the CMO brief, all about the $7.7 million, the fee, so that can you just put it in the chat so that anyone else that wants to hear more about what he's asking, that everyone else can know a little bit about it. Okay, so
Yes.
yes. Okay, thank you, Maria. So, Jean, you are absolutely correct. What has happened is there is a fee that unfortunately was is supposed to be paid by the host city. The host city, as far as FIFA is concerned, is Boston. You know, because you live here in Boston, you're Bostonian, you know that Gillette Stadium is in Foxborough. It is not in the city of Boston. So we've got two different what we call areas. So the host city is Boston, Massachusetts. To me, my professional opinion is the funding should come from the host city, which is Boston, Massachusetts. All of the majority of the revenue is going into Boston. You can't even get a hotel right now in Boston. I was told motels are at 1,500 a night right now. Motels, if you can get one during the game time. So why that was not established by the committee, the financial responsibility, I do not know. But I will tell you here in Foxborough, if there is ever an event at the stadium, so I'm just going to just speak logistics. Anytime there is a concert at Gillette Stadium, anytime anyone rents the stadium, there is a fee for security. That fee has never been paid by Foxborough. That fee has always been paid by the Kraft Group because the stadium belongs to the Kraft Group. So when Beyonce came, that security fee, it was paid by the Kraft Group. Um, you know, when George Strait came, that fee was paid by the Kraft Group. So why the financial responsibility for the 7.7 or 7.9 million was not established, I do not know. I do know that supposedly Governor Healy was asked about where the money's coming from, and she said it will come from somewhere. It is due March the 29th, which, as the first question you asked, Jean, is why are we not prepared? So if you can imagine, we're still waiting on that. How can Boston prepare the businesses? That's why you are going to have to do it. You're going to have to prepare yourself. Come to things like this, get the help you need because the surge is coming and you need to be prepared. Now, does that answer both of your questions?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Yes, yes, you are more than welcome. Maria, were you able to find that link and put it
Yes,
in?
I put it right inside the chat, and we also have a couple questions on the chat as well.
Okay, awesome, awesome. I'll take it. Great. Okay, we did say that the webinar is going to be from 1 hour. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so I will answer the questions, but I want to be respectful of their time. Okay, let me let me read. Okay, so is the current timeline for business engagement normal? From everything I've heard from fellow industry folks, it's been relatively radio silence. Okay, Andy, would you mind? I would love for you, just like Jean, are you able to unmute yourself and give me more context so that I can properly answer your question based upon my expertise? And he may have had to pop off, or um, he may not. Okay, he may not be able to unmute himself, but I'll go ahead and answer it the best way that I can.
I think he has left, Jamie,
Oh,
just so you know. Yep.
okay, great. And I do know that we said it's past the hour. We'll figure out how to get this answer to him. So let me explain how. Okay, so events like the World Cup, the preparation usually happens in three phases. There is the bid and the infrastructure, and that's usually, 3 to 5 years out. Then, but during that stage, local businesses, we rarely hear anything about it. It's not until phase two, which we call the sponsor activation, which is usually 1 to 3 years out. And that we did here. That's when, Mayor Marty Walsh at that time was our mayor. We saw Bob Kraft. We started hearing more about, that we started hearing that we may be one of the host cities. You also start hearing about the sponsors. You hear that Coca-Cola is going to be a sponsor, McDonald's is coming back. So that's what we call that phase two. Small businesses and local operators still, though, they still feel kind of out of the loop, even with like 3 years or 1 year out. Then phase three is 12 months to game time. Okay. 12 months to game time, which should be June 2025 to June 2026, because the first game, to my knowledge, is June the 11th for us here in the US. Maria, please fact check that for me while I'm talking, but please fact check what's the first game in the US. I know that they're playing all over, but I am specifically talking about the US. If you could look that up for me, that would be great. While Maria is looking that up, I'm going to continue. But usually 12 months before what I call the first game, that is when local engagement should begin. That's when local businesses are being briefed about what's going to happen. That's when tourism campaigns are launched. That's when the fan festivals are announced. That's when a citywide program begins, and they're bringing in businesses, they're bringing in community leaders, they're bringing in presidents of the various different Chamber of Commerces, our BNIs, Rotary clubs, they're bringing in presidents like Jean on the phone. So we have all these organizations, and that's when they start having what we call that citywide programming. And they're bringing in all these leaders, and they're telling them what they're planning, and they're giving them the information of how to prepare for this global event. The issue we have is it's dangerous that we have such little time, and several of the things that I just stated that normally happen with global events has not been seen yet in certain host cities. So, during a global event, early planning often happens during that. Local businesses should know and they should hear. And I will still say, start preparing before the official notice arrives, because by the time, or if it does officially arrive to you and your business, it may be too late for you to prepare. That's why positioning is so important. And I hope that that answers his question. And we have one more question before we disconnect, though. Maria, were you able to look that up for us?
Yes, the first one is June 12th in Los Angeles.
Okay, okay, wonderful. So going back to what I said with that the 12-month period before the game. So normally with a global event, you as a business, you should have heard more about what your city is doing. That would have been June 12th, 2025. that's when you should have. So if you did not hear it and you still haven't, it is time for you to just prepare yourself and do your own due diligence. Okay, we have one more, and thank you for everyone who is here. I really appreciate for you guys staying on past the hour. Okay, marketing question. All right, just need to blow this up so that I can see it a little better. Okay, what does this say? Maria, are you able to just read it for me? I'm sorry. I'm trying to go over to the chat. Um,
Absolutely, yes.
okay, thank you.
Okay, and this is from blackbuscompany.com.
Okay.
Marketing question. In general, who are decision makers in general? How best to contact quote unquote buyers for incoming teams and businesses direct?
Very good question. And what was the name of the company that asked this question?
Blackbuscompany.com.
Okay, okay. I am hoping Black Bus Company that you are in the transportation industry
Yes.
because okay, this is wonderful. Because people often assume that there is just one person who controls purchasing for incoming teams or delegations. But in reality, the decision making is actually distributed across several roles. So it's not just one person, only if you want to be an approved FIFA World Cup transportationist. Like that's the only thing. And that this goes for all businesses. And I'm glad that this question is being asked. So if you want to have a banner that says a FIFA World Cup certified restaurant, you would have to go through the proper channels and then you have to pay FIFA to be able to have that banner. But if that's not necessarily what you want, there is certain language that you can use. You want, you can say match day transportation or match day restaurant. So you're not using the trademarked FIFA World Cup, but you're still talking about your services and that you're match day or soccer. There is certain terminology that you can use. And the reason that I like this question is if you know of certain communities that are going to be coming, I would say reach out to them yourself. Absolutely. Those that are in the excuse me, those that are in the transportation industry, you are going to be wildly successful. If you just start a campaign right now, and let's say you decide to focus on um, Qatar Airways is a sponsor. Qatar Airways is a sponsor. If you just focus on that region, literally, if you just focused on the Middle East coming to Boston and if they needed transportation, or if you just focused on one part of the world, it was just announced that one of the games is going to be England. So if you just focus on London, England, and London, England visitors coming to Boston, and you just focus on that area, and you reached out to their Chamber of Commerce, you reached out to their BNIs, you reached out, and that's just so easy because the world is smaller with the internet. You just Google it. Google it. Google London, England Chamber of Commerce. Find them on LinkedIn. Find their Facebook page, find their Instagram page, and offer your services and rinse and repeat. You will become wildly successful because if they know that you are there to offer your services to their group of people, it's a simple framework, but it makes you sound authoritative and practical. So that is what I would do versus waiting on FIFA World Cup Boston, you know, they have a little office over they have a little office over at Gillette Stadium before waiting on them to call you to ask you how you can become a certified FIFA World Cup Boston 2026 transportationist. No, don't do that. No. Just start now and build your own marketing brand awareness strategy. That is what I would do if it was me. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for asking. And I thank you all so very much. I appreciate everyone. I'm going to now turn it back over to Maria. And thank you again for your time. Maria, you can take it over. Thank you.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to this Stadium Corridor Readiness Briefing. Jamie has done such an amazing job. Wow, just so much great information. And I hope you all get to check us out on the CMO Connect on LinkedIn. Come and join us and see everything that we have to offer, as well as the CMO Brief on Substack. So thank you all again and hope to chat soon. Have a wonderful day, everyone.